What's up, guys? Got a bit of a different video once again today. Today I'm doing a meta guide for the upcoming Halloween Cup in GBL. So I've never done one of these before, and the reason I'm doing it now is because I'm planning on opening up YouTube channel memberships and adding this to the $5 per month Patreon tier and above. So for those of you who are willing to support me through channel memberships and the Patreon tiers at $5 and above, I will be giving you guys exclusive access to these meta videos for every upcoming GBL Cup and every upcoming Sylph Cup when they release. I'm still undecided on factions because I don't actually play those metas. I don't have very good insight into them. I play Great League Specialist. But yeah, I figured that would be a nice way for me to be able to give back something to you guys who are willing to support me. Either way, this one is free, so might as well continue watching and let me explain to you how the meta works for this upcoming cup. So what is Halloween Cup? Quickly, it is essentially Great League, under 1500 CP, but only Poison, Bug, Ghost, Dark, and Fairy types are allowed in this cup. And if you take a look at this is the first ever themed cup that Niantic ever ran in the past. They ran it a year ago for Halloween, obviously. So if you take a look at the typings, they're actually pretty well balanced, and in my opinion, this was the best cup they ever ran. So I'm excited they're bringing it back. We've got Poison, Bug, Ghost, Dark, Fairy once again. A couple things to note: the types look pretty balanced, but we do have Ghost having no super effective moves or no super effective targets among these 5 types, and then we have Bug being resisted by 3 of these types. So there's a little bit of an imbalance, but at the end of the day, it does end up making for a pretty balanced cup. One thing to note, Fairy as well also only has Charm as a fast move, so it's a pretty inconsistent type and not a great attacking type. You're going to see Fairy and Ghost be more of a defensive typing for a lot of these Pokemon that enable non-meta types to get into the cup, like Frostlass or Alolan Ninetales allowing the Ice type to get in. And you're going to see more of Dark, Bug, and Poison be attacking types of that type. So let's get into it. I'm going to go to PvPoke. For those of you who have not been to PvPoke before, just type this into your address bar. Oops, pvpoke.com. That's all you need to do. This is a fantastic website. If you've been playing GBL without it, this is going to change your entire life. Not being sponsored by this, like I honestly just genuinely believe this is the best resource you could possibly use. So let's go through, let's take a look. First of all, is this a new meta? So I said I was going to be putting out these meta guides for every new meta. But let's take a look at the top 10 Pokemon in Halloween Cup. Every single one of these, I think with the exception of Mawile and maybe Mandibuzz, let's bring it to the top 11 even, have had large updates to their movesets or just buffs in general to make them viable. So let's look. Azumarill was XL, or is XL now. That's a pretty big buff. Nidoqueen got Poison Fang, Poison Jab buffed. Golbat got Poison Fang buffed. Mawile's the same. Beedrill, Poison Jab buff. Jellicent added to the game. We've got Nidoqueen and Golbat again in their other form. And then Alolan Ninetales is Weather Ball Ice. So these are huge changes to the meta. I consider Halloween Cup kind of a new meta now. Teams that worked in the past in Halloween Cup may not work anymore, so I feel like that's why it might be a good idea to take another quick look at what kind of Pokemon you might want to consider on your teams and how to build them. Then a quick disclaimer before I go into this. This is going to be quite a bit more casually set since it's exclusive content than a lot of other people's videos. The reason why you might want me to explain the meta, I feel like I've had a pretty good understanding of the meta for every single cup that Niantic has put out. So getting a unique insight on it might be good. A lot of people can go over the meta, what is good, what is bad, but everyone's opinions differ. And at the point where content becomes subjective, it kind of matters who is providing you with that content, I guess. So anyways, let's get into it. I'm going to start with the easiest types first. Let's go with Fairy. So the Fairy types here, I said that it's mostly a defensive type, resisting Dark and Bug. It's Dark for super effective, but really there's only Armors that really deal Fairy damage. Everything else kind of doesn't really. So as far as that goes, let's take a look at the Pokemon that Fairy type might bring to you. You need a Fairy type to cover the Dark types. You got Azumarill, obviously it's going to be in play. Mawile looks like it's quite a bit better than the previous time, just based on typing. I think there's a lot of things that might scare away stuff like Alolan Marowak a little bit more. And then outside is Alola Ninetales. I don't think the ice type is going to be very useful personally. It is a good Pokemon just in general, but I don't think it's going to be as good as in Open Great League. There's probably going to be teams you can build around it though, and you can probably run a double ice team with Frostlass or something like that, but it might be a bit tough. And then of course we got the Charmers. As far as Charmers go, I would really only recommend 2 Charmers. Not on the same team, of course. I mean, if you want to do that, then sure. I just don't think Double Charm will be very good in this cup. Wigglytuff is the first one. It's got the bulk. It's got the normal typing, which means it's immune or double resistant against those ghost types, which are actually decently common in Halloween Cup, making it the only Charmer to have any real play against Alolan Marowak, which is nice. And then the other one, of course, is Shadow Gramble, and that's just because of the Shadow part of it. I mean, if you're going to use a high damage fast move, might as well be Shadow. Gardevoir is no good. And then as far as Mawile, Shadow Mawile versus regular Mawile, I don't know why regular Mawile is rated so much higher, but I would really consider Shadow Mawile. And then let's go to Ghost. This is the other easy type. Essentially, this boils down to a couple Pokemon as well. We have the good old Frostlass and Alolan Marowak. Those 2 were mainstays in the last Halloween Cup. They'll be mainstays in this one as well. Alolan Marowak is actually the only fire type, I believe, in this entire cup. Mawile does fire damage as well, but those are really your only 2 fire options. As far as Frostlass goes, one of the only ice types as well, and Frostlass really shines as soon as stuff like G-Fisk is banned from any cup, so it's going to be good regardless. Jellicent is a new addition to this lineup. It's going to be tough because there are quite a few dark types, and it does lose to all the ghost types as well. But its stats and moveset, just keep it in the discussion. Water is also a really good type. Things like Azumarill, Jellicent, they're going to be everywhere just because water is a great typing. And then as far as other ghost types go, you might want to consider Sableye, but I feel like you might want to keep your Sableye in Open Great League instead, where it'll have more success. And then the other ghost types, you could run something like Drifblim or Hunter Gengar, but I don't think they'll be very good. They're very squishy. Golurk is interesting. I'll talk about it later when I get to a different type. But that's it for Ghost. We're going to go to Dark. Dark is the medium here. As in, there's a lot of Pokemon in the Dark type that just use Dark as their defensive typing. There's a lot that also use it as their offensive typing. So let's look at some of the mainstays in Dark. Dark is really going to boil down to 2 groups. Tanky Dark types on one side and Dark Poison types on the other side. So as far as tanky Dark types go, we've got Mandibuzz, Umbreon, and kind of Sableye. They all kind of accomplish the same thing. You just outbulk your opponents and you win in the neutral matchups. So even though Dark is in a bit rough, stuff like Mandibuzz, which it recommends Air Slash here, I think Snarl still has play, and Umbreon obviously just is so tanky. I think it still has play. Those are 2 Pokemon if you want to build around Dark. So Dark double Poison, Poison double Dark, like those look like your 2 Darks. I guess technically as well, we have Scrafty and Obstagoon as counter users as Dark types. They kind of fall under the tanky Dark situation, but they also beat Umbreon, for example. So you do have to watch out for that if you're running Umbreon. I do think Obstagoon has a bit more play than Scrafty here. You get your moves a little bit faster, you can hit back harder against some of your counters. And then we have the Poison Darks. There's actually 4 options now. We got Alolan Grimer, Skuntank, which I would prefer Shadow, and then Alolan Muck, and Drapion. So you've got 4 options. Which one do you choose? Well, if you're looking for a safe swap or a balanced lead, take a look at Drapion instead. It's got Poison Sting instead of Poison Jab, which means it builds energy faster, which means it's better with energy advantage that safe swapping will give you, and it can deal a lot of damage to even Pokemon that should counter it. I don't know if I'd be running Aqua Tail. We'll see how the meta shakes out. Skuntank also a decent safe swap, just because Flamethrower gives it the ability to hit back against Pokemon of the Steel type that might double resist Poison Jab coming in. And Crunch handles pretty much everything else. So Skuntank is a decent safe swap as well. If you want a closer, take a look at one of these Poison Jab, either Grimers or Alolan Mucks. If you want to run Alolan Muck as your safe swap, might as well run Snarl instead on this thing, and then give it Sludge Wave instead. But either of these Pokemon, any of these Pokemon with Poison Jab work pretty well as a closer or lead for an ABB team, in my opinion. So that about covers Dark. Let's go into Bug. So a lot of these Pokemon are either dealing bug damage or just poison damage. But as we go through this list, Beedrill, I know I didn't cover it when we haven't talked about poison types yet. So Beedrill, Shadow Beedrill specifically is the premier bug type. Honestly, deals a lot of bug damage too. Even though X Scissor is a weak move, Shadow Beedrill hits very, very hard. So stuff like Beedrill, as a poison user, that's going to be very important. A lot of the actual bug damage is going to come from the bug steel types. So stuff like Fortress and Wormadam Trash. These deal a lot of bug damage just with bug bite. The steel type is incredibly strong in this cup. So being able to resist or double resist poison is a big deal. Even if your bug bite is resisted, it'll still put you ahead. Fortress versus Wormadam. Wormadam can also use Confusion as well. That gives it a little bit of versatility, but honestly, if you're running Bug Bite, both of these Pokemon are about the same. Fortress is way more bait dependent. You have to bait with Mirror Shot to land Earthquake a lot of the time, whereas Wormadam, you kind of just don't mess around. You just go straight for that Bug Bite and just take people out. As far as other bug types go, it's not all about the bug damage here. We have Shadow Caesar as well. I'm not really sure why it's ranked this high. In the past, I have seen it played in Halloween Cup, and it's very squishy. Very, very squishy. So even though the typing looks great, the moveset looks decent, it's kind of tough to use. One of the MVPs of Bug, I think this is going to be probably the strongest bug, or one of them, is going to be Crustle. And I wouldn't run it with Fury Cutter. I think that's what's contributing to it being low in the rankings. I'd run it with Smackdown. Rock is one of the best typings in this cup, even though it's not allowed in the cup. Any Pokemon with a Rock secondary typing is going to be valuable as long as it has Rock Throw or Smackdown. And then as far as some safe switches, we've got Galvantula and Ariados. Both have access to Lunge. You just swap them in and just lunge your target. You can create an easy farm down for your lead. Escavalier also deserves an honorable mention here as one of the only counter users. Even though it's very squishy in Great League, it's access to counter, Drill Run, and Mega Horn, and the ability for it to kind of just resist almost everything except for fire, of which there's only 2 Pokemon with fire moves here. Make it a pretty strong choice as well. But if you go any further down on the bug list, you're probably reaching a little bit. As far as poison goes, this might end up actually being the dominant typing in Halloween Cup, just because of all the buffs. If you look at all these Pokemon, they've all got Poison Fang, Poison Jab, Acid Spray, all those buffed moves. So if we take a look and break these Pokemon down into their different types, we already covered the dark type Pokemon. As far as Poison Jabbers go, you're going to be looking at Nidoqueen, Beedrill, and the dark poisons, as well as Tentacruel. Most of these will be dealing only poison damage for the most part. Right now they have Stone Edge on Nidoqueen. I'm not 100% sure that's the case, or not 100% sure that's what you should be using. Maybe perhaps Earthquake or Earth Power would be better. Sorry, not Earthquake. There's no Geophist, so no need for that. Earth Power is probably pretty good here too. Don't just blindly trust PvP Poke. Think about what is best for your team that you're putting this Pokemon on. So I think it will depend from team to team. As I'll talk about soon, I think Ground and Rock are 2 of the best types in this cup. And one of the reasons Ground is good is because, oh, look at this type right here, Poison. Especially the Poison Darks, their only weakness is to Ground. So there's a severe lack of ground damage in this cup, so I think throwing that away for Stone Edge might be a mistake, but we'll see how the meta shakes out. Golbat provides a little flying damage as well as poison damage, and Shadow Ball allows it to hit back really hard against the ghost types as well in this cup. But Wing Attack is the real win here. It's one of the only flying types with the good flying type move. And then Quillfish and Tentacruel, they provide that water poison typing, which is very important, especially as a pair with the rock types, because they help you resist or beat the ground types and resist the fighting types that would threaten the rock. There's just a lot of synergies there. But Quillfish is the much better safe switch out of these 2, just because it has access once again to Poison Sting. If it charges moves faster, it has wider coverage. You can run Ice Beam, you can run Sludge Wave. You can also run a Water Gun on Quillfish. I wouldn't run that on Safe Swap Quillfish, but it does give you access to that very valuable water type damage. And then as far as other poison types go, I think that's pretty much it. Most of the ones that you're going to want to consider I've either already talked about for their other typing, or we've just talked about in the poison typing already. The other 2 options are going to be Roserade and Venusaur. I think especially Venusaur, you never count on Venusaur. Even if it's hitting for resisted, it deals an absolute ton of damage. There's going to be water types around. Water's one of the better types. Jellicent, Azumarill, Tentacruel, Quillfish, they're all ranked in the top 20. And they're all Pokemon that Venusaur can really help deal with. And even if you get caught in a bad spot, Frenzy Plant against something like an Alolan Muck is still going to shred it. because it's just Pokemon in this cup don't look like they're going to be that tanky. It can also take out stuff like Umbreon, Obstagoon, just those neutral matchups. It just has a big advantage. So those are all the types in Halloween Cup. I did want to cover 2 more. Let's take a look at Rock. Last time Halloween Cup was around, Rock was extremely powerful. So we've got Crustle and Dwebble, I guess, if you're crazy enough to XL a Dwebble, which is essentially just a worse Crustle if you're running Smackdown. And then Shadow Tyranitar is the other one. So this is a bit of a tough one. You need Elite Fast Move TM to build Shadow Tyranitar, but it does a lot of damage. And it's kind of also hard to get a Shadow Tyranitar without frustration and stuff like that too. Not that you'll likely make it to too many moves there. But Rock is very important. Make sure you don't discount Rock when you're making your teams, I guess is what I'm saying. Or think about Crustle as an option. Or Shadow Tyranitar. And the other one is Ground. So let's take a look. Besides Nidoqueen here, there's not a lot of options. So this is why I was kind of saying you might want to run Earth Power on Nidoqueen. The only other option I would say here is Golurk. So this Pokemon I think will be around much more often than you expect from its 110th rating here. Mud Slap is very strong. Its Ghost typing allows it to resist those counter users. And essentially it's just a Mud Slap machine. A lot of these poison types, Nidoqueen, Beedrill, even though it's not super effective, the dark poisons, as soon as Golurk comes in, it's kind of just game over for them. Even stuff like Tentacruel won't be able to make it to Hydro Pump, or if it does, it won't be able to land it because you can just shield and just get Mud Slapped down. Golurk can then transition this damage into either Ghost damage, or which has pretty good neutral coverage, even though it doesn't have good super effective coverage in this cup. And then Earth Power. I guess Ghost is super effective against itself, but that's kind of a wash then. And Earth Power, I know it has access to Dynamic Punch too. But that's going to be the big winner from the ground type here. So I would not be surprised to see some Golurks here. And then, so that's it. I did want to go over Team Building Example. This is what I'll do as well in future videos. So as far as let's go to Team Builder. So I have these tabs open because I was messing around a little bit before. Click Team Builder at the top here. This is a fantastic tool within EVPoke, but a lot of people misuse it. So I'm going to go through team building the way I do it. I'll probably go in depth in future videos. And essentially what you have to do for team builders, I first identify a Pokemon that I really want to play, or I think has some good play in whatever cup we're looking at. So Halloween Cup, and you guys know I love Shadow Beedrill. So let's type in Beedrill first. Take a look at how it does against the meta. I just put in Beedrill, click the Shadow button. Let's rate the team. So it has some pretty good matchups against the top meta. The most important part of this, and I will just say, honestly, ignore this part. The letter grades, they don't make sense. Ignore the threat score. It doesn't really matter. What's important here is the meta scorecard, the potential threats, so what's good against your Pokemon, and then potential alternatives. I would kind of ignore this too for the most part, because it's kind of flawed. It doesn't always pick the best counters to your Pokemon. So in this case, we have Beedrill, and what I want to do is I want to find out what beats the counters to Shadow Beedrill. So let's take a look. What are the counters to Shadow Beedrill? Golbat will wreck it. Mandibuzz with Air Slash will wreck it. Mawile. Alolan Marowak. So those fire types. We get Jellicent in there. Jellicent also beats Beedrill. And then, oh yeah, can't forget about the rock type, right? That's what I've been saying the whole time. Can't forget about the rocks. Crustle. We'll change this to Smackdown though, because I don't really expect to see a lot of Fury Cutter Crustles. So anyways, what this is important to do is now I've typed in all these counters. I gotta find out a Pokemon that beats everything here. So we don't have anything that beats every single one of Beedrill's counters, and this is gonna be common, but we do have Nidoqueen, Umbreon, and Dragalge. So let's keep those in mind right now. And then the other important part is take a look at this meta scorecard and taking a look at what Pokemon also lose. So this purple is, they lose to these threats. So Fortress loses to all of them. Well, Beedrill obviously loses to all of them because I typed them in as Beedrill counters. This means you typed it incorrectly, if you can see this. Wormadam Trash also. So looks like we can run either Fortress or Wormadam Trash, maybe as a potential backline for Beedrill safe swap here, because it looks like Beedrill doesn't actually have that tough of a time versus these counters, whereas Fortress and Wormadam Trash get absolutely wrecked by some of them. So what I'm gonna do, we'll take these counters out now because I'm pretty confident that this will work. And we have to remember Umbreon, Dragalge, and Nidoqueen. Okay, so we'll type in Nidoqueen first. It was the first one to come up. I prefer Shadow Nidoqueen, Beedrill, and Wormadam trash, or should I do Fortress? I don't know what's... Fortress is probably cheaper to make. So we'll type in Fortress, and this doesn't look that great. So this potential threats is usually where I go straight to kind of look at what beats it. It's usually... There's going to be something that beats all three if you're making an ABB team, but this doesn't look very good in terms of ABB at all. And I'll try Wormadam Trash just to see if that makes a difference. I think Wormadam Trash might be just more consistent than Fortress. So, no, it doesn't look any better. So Nidoqueen is out. It obviously didn't work here. We had a couple other options, though. So Umbreon. This is that tanky monster. And look, this is starting to look better already. We go down to the potential threats. Hold on. Wait, I'm going to put Fortress back in. See if it makes a difference. It's pretty similar. But as far as this goes, this is kind of what you want to see out of an ABB team. Just a straight line of purples down here with every once in a while a Pokemon coming out here. So obviously it's not good that Beedrill's the only Pokemon that beats Toxicroak, but I don't think Fortress does that bad either. Same with Escav, I don't think that matchup is that bad. Scrafty, I'm actually surprised beats Fortress, so that's not too big of a deal. And then stuff like Fortress, Wormadam, Trash, and Pawniard, you're still going to have to swap in Beedrill anyways, but Fortress can handle them in the back. As far as Pokemon that beat all these Pokemon, Crustle is one, but that's going to be Fury Cutter Crustle, which I don't think we'll see too much. Lady Anne is a joke, and sorry, Lady Anne lovers out there, but Mawile could be a little bit of a problem. I kind of doubt that all of these matchups are that bad either. Umbreon is going to struggle a little bit there, but I have a feeling if I put in Dragalge here, Mawile will still be a problem. So we'll try Dragalge out. Outrage or Gunk Shot is the play. But yeah, this looks pretty good too. This actually looks maybe even a little bit better. We still have the Mawile problem. But I'm going to be honest. It is not bad at all. If you get rid of the Mawile, that's their fire damage. That's probably their only coverage to Fortress. They'll probably be sitting pretty... Man, am I going to have to build a Dragalge? Yeah, this looks even better ABB-wise. There's only one Pokemon, Escav, that Beedrill is the only coverage for, it looks like, out of the top 20. Everything else, Dragalge essentially covers. Fortress. And I'll try putting in Wormadam Trash, see if that changes anything too. But I kind of doubt it will. Looks about the same to me. Oh, I guess it doesn't cover Sableye as well as Fortress does. Yeah, so that's it. That's an example of team building. I didn't go as in depth as I normally would because I kind of have a theory crafted through this before. I know Bug is not a great type, but if you're gonna run a Bug team, this is probably actually. Let me try Caesar. I don't think this will be as good. It's gonna be Steel damage. Yeah, it's more on the back of Beedrill if you run Caesar. So it looks like Fortress is probably your best bet. It looks like all three of the Bug Steels can probably work here. Shadow Beedrill, likely the best safe swap for a Bug type, I would say. Well, for a Bug Steel type, maybe you could run something like... Ariados instead. But it puts a lot more stress on Fortress, so maybe not. Oh yeah. Yeah, having not a good matchup against Azumarill is a bit of a problem. As well as Frostlass. So maybe you actually just stick with Beedrill. But Ariados, Galvantula might be a potential as well. Plunge is a great debuffing move. Oh my lord, this somehow makes it look like this is an ABB the other way around. So maybe don't use Galvantula on this team. Yeah, sorry. This is now dragging on. I would probably stick to it with Beedrill here. So this is probably a team I will be running at some point, or a variation of this team. Figure that would be pretty good for a little bit of a sneak preview here. I know this is, and I guess the one last thing I wanted to go over before I end this video is why make this exclusive content over other stuff. As far as mechanics and gameplay content goes, I think that that's more for the public, especially mechanics. I really think that everyone deserves the ability to access the resources to improve as a player. So that's why I strongly believe that mechanics videos and future mechanics videos, I'm planning on putting out stuff like when to bait, when to shield, stuff like that. Everyone deserves to have access to those resources to be put on a level playing field. As far as taking a look at the meta, this is my opinion or my read of the meta. So it's not something that is book or like the Bible or something like that. It's just my opinion. Hopefully it's a pretty educated opinion, but it's not something that I feel like is necessary to put everyone on the same potential playing field. Learning to read the meta is important too. But if you want that shortcut, if you want my help finding out the meta, I think it's a nice thing for me to be able to give back to those of you who go that extra mile in terms of your support. Not that I don't love all of your guys' support, and just watching these videos is honestly fantastic to me. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this first and last freebie here. A little look into the upcoming Halloween Cup meta, which I think will be a pretty good one.